Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So first we're going to be going over the Unit 3B review packet. I did tell you guys in class you don't need to do the last question. That will not be on your test. While it's something you should know, I'm not going to be testing you on that tomorrow. Alright, so let's get started. So for question number 1, we are given a 4-term polynomial. So again, if you remember from the poster from the front of the room, a 4-term polynomial means we're going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to factor my terms by grouping them. I'm going to look for the GCF of the first 2 terms, and then I'm going to look for the GCF of the last 2 terms. So let's check this out. The GCF for 4mn plus 8n is 4n. They both share a 4n, so I'm going to factor that out. What remains is m plus 2. Okay, when I divide that out. If I look to the right-hand side, the last 2 terms, they both share a positive 3. So I'm going to factor out a plus 3. And again, what remains should be what's over here in the parentheses. If it's not, then we did something wrong. And it checks out. So now when I finally group my terms, I'll be left with 4n plus 3 times m plus 2. And that's all you have to do for the first question. I express this as a product, they're being multiplied, of 2 binomials. All right, let's take a look at question number 2. So for question number 2, we're given the following expressions, and we want to know which one is rational. So you guys have to remember that in order to be rational, it has to be written as a fraction of integers. So if I look at the first one, 1/3 plus square root of 4, well, the square root of 4 is just 2. So this is 1/3 plus 2. We can write that as a fraction of integers. So that checks out. Let's look at the next one. Square root of 6 times the square root of 6, if you plug that in your calculator, is just 6. 6 is a whole number. That can be written as a fraction of integers. Let's take a look at number 3. Again, I can add 2 fractions together, and I will get another fraction. So this will also equal another fraction of integers. And then lastly, obviously can't be number 4 since the rest of them checked out. So if I look at number 4, 4 times square root of 5, that's not a perfect square. So this is not going to be rational. So you should get 1, 2, and 3. Answer choice 4. Okay, let's take a look at question number 3. So for question number 3, the first thing you guys should always be asking yourselves, very first question for any factoring problem, is there a GCF? So do either of these things have anything in common? All they share is a 1. Okay, so they only share a 1, so that's not really super helpful. Okay, well, the next thing I'm going to pay attention to is the fact that this is a binomial. There's 2 terms. Well, we need to ask ourselves, is this dots? So, is there subtraction in the middle? Yes. Are there 2 terms? Yes. Are there perfect squares? Yes. Oops. And are the exponents even? Yes. So we can do dots here. Okay, so I have x to the 6th minus 36. We're going to make our double set of parentheses. The square root of x to the 6th is x cubed, so we know we have an x cubed and an x cubed. Be careful here. The square root of 36 is 6, not 18. And don't forget, with dots, we get a plus and a minus. Okay, look out for that double negative. Careful of that. It's a plus and a minus. So your answer should have been 4. All right, moving on to question number 4. So for question number 4, we want to know which expression is a factor of this trinomial. So this is a trinomial now. So you need to think, am I going to use that rainbow method, okay, where I had this going on? Or can I just factor it and do double bubble? Well, let's think. What's the leading coefficient? Since the leading coefficient is 1, we can just factor this simply. We don't need to do the rainbow method, whatever you guys prefer to call it. So I had x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay? We're going to create our double set of parentheses. The x comes out front. And now you guys need to think, what's going to multiply to negative 15, but adds to positive 2x. So let's think of some factors. We have 5 and 3. We have 15 and 1. We have negative 15 and negative 1. However, wait a sec. This needs to multiply to negative 15. So each of these needs to have a negative value out front. So let's go back. We have negative 5 and 3, 15 and negative 1, and then 5 and negative 3. So these are our options. So let's see. All of these are going to multiply to negative 15, but only one of them is going to add to positive 2x in the middle. So let's look through our options here. The only option of what's going to add to positive 2x, so 2 in the middle, but multiplies to negative 15, is a positive 5 and a negative 3. So it just asks which one is the factor. So you would have x plus 5, and you would have x minus 3. So answer choice 1 is your answer. Okay? Hopefully that helps clear up factoring with the trinomial. Again, when the leading coefficient is 1, we can jump right to this step. It's a shortcut. Okay, let's take a look at number 5. So number 5 tells us 4x is a factor. If I'm telling you one of the factors, you should divide it out by that factor. So when I divide out by the factor, I'll be left with x minus 3. 4 divided by 4 is 1. X squared divided by x is x to the first. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. And x over x is just 1. It cancels out. Okay, so really you're looking at 4x times x minus 3. So the other factor is going to be x minus 3. Guys, please don't pick 4x. I'm already telling you 4x is the factor. Okay, it's not the other factor as well. All right, let's take a look at number 6. Number 6, I told you guys in class, that is a question that is definitely going to be on your test. So let's take a look at that one really closely. Okay, so we've got x squared plus 8x plus 15. And now you're probably thinking, well, what is this? Why is it written like that? Okay, well, don't worry about that right now. You guys should just be factoring this as you normally would. So this is a trinomial. I have a trinomial. Well, we need to think, what's the leading coefficient? What's that number out front? Am I going to use the rainbow method here and multiply to the back? Or am I able to just double bubble or double set of parentheses and quickly factor? So think about that for a second. All right, good. So the leading coefficient, because it's 1, I'm able to cut right to the shortcut where I'm going to double bubble or factor this with 2 sets of parentheses. I'll have an x out front and an x out front. We need to think, what are 2 numbers that are going to multiply to 15 but adds to 8? So let's think. 2 numbers that multiply to 15 but adds to 8. Well, we've got 5 and 3. I also have negative 5 and negative 3. Well, negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15, but that's not going to add to a positive 5, to a positive 8. That's going to add up to negative 8. So it's not this, has to be 5 and 3. So I'm going to add 5 and I'm going to add 3. Now, be careful here because you're not done. It says find all possible values of b. Now, a few of you have mentioned in class, well, can I rewrite this as x plus 3 and x plus 5? Yes. If you guys notice the order here, you have x plus a and x plus b, and I want to know possible values of b. Well, b can be 3 and b could be 5. So we're going to say b could be 3 or 5. It's important you write this. You will not get full credit unless you write out a sentence. Do not assume I know you know it's both. Okay? That's really important. Alrighty, let's move on to the next page. Alright, so if you look at the next page for number 7, okay, we're just subtracting polynomials here again. So I have all of C is getting subtracted by all of D. So I'm going to quickly just write this out. Again, something you guys need to remember, you have to write this with parentheses. That's a must. Okay? Okay, now that I've written out the polynomials that I'm subtracting, you guys need to remember keep, change, change. So we keep the first set of terms. So I'm just going to rewrite the first set of terms. We change the middle symbol from subtraction to addition. So keep, change, and then we change all of the signs. So I'll have plus x cubed minus 5x squared minus 8x and plus 6. Now we want to simplify and combine like terms. So if we notice, this 6x cubed matches with this positive x cubed. The negative 4x squared is going to pair with the negative 5x squared. The positive 3x is going to pair with the negative 8x. And the positive 2 is going to match with the positive 6. So let's start to combine like terms. We'll have 7x cubed from here and here. We have negative 4x squared with negative 5x squared, which is negative 9x squared. We have positive 3x and negative 8x, which is minus 5x. And lastly, positive 2 and positive 6 is positive 8. Okay, now it asks us to add C and D. So I'm not going to do this part for you guys. I think this is something that you guys should be able to do on your own. You also have my answer key, but part B, you're just adding by combining like terms. Okay, let's take a look at question number 8. So for question number 8, this is just asking what is going to be equivalent to this trinomial. Okay, so a way that we can check this, guys, is go through each one of these. Okay, and also look at your answer choices. We have 1 and 2, we have 2 and 3, and then we have 1 only and 2 only. So let's see how this is going to work out. So I'm just going to try answer choice 2 right now. So let's see, if I distribute this back, let's see if I get the same answer as up here. When I redistribute this, I'll get 5y cubed minus 40y squared plus 60y. So answer choice 2 checks out. Okay, now notice your answer choices, guys. Answer 2 worked. So can it just be answer choice 1 only? No. Could it be 1 and 2? Maybe. Could it be 2 and 3? Again, maybe. We'll see. So let's see what's going to happen. Now we should check either or, answer choice 1 or 3. I'm going to go check answer choice 3. So let's see what happens when I redistribute here. I'm going to redistribute the 5y into both, not to the 60y, because that doesn't have parentheses, only the y squared minus 8y. When I distribute, I'll be left with 5y cubed minus 40y squared plus 60y. Did answer choice 3 check out? Is this the exact same thing as this? Yes. So it's answer choice 2 and 3. Okay, let's keep going. We're on a roll. Let's go to number 9. Okay, so for number 9, we have a trinomial. So again, think back to the poster from class. Am I dealing with the left-hand side of the poster or the right-hand side? So the left-hand side said when the coefficient is equal to 1, we follow the method that was given. When the leading coefficient is not 1, we do that rainbow method, okay, where we have to turn this into grouping by 4 terms. So let's check this out. The leading coefficient here is not 1. So I can't just quickly double bubble or make my double set of parentheses and factor this. That's not going to work here. What we have to do, and I'm going to write this down here, what we have to do is use the method from class, where we're going to have to turn this into 4 terms, so that way we can factor by grouping. So let's check this out. We're going to multiply the first term to the last term. When I multiply 4x squared by negative 5, I end up with negative 20x squared. Now you need to think, what are 2 numbers that are going to multiply to negative 20x squared, but adds to positive x. All right, so let's think. We have 5 and 4. All right, so 5 and 4. So let's think about this. 5x and 4x. Now, we have to assign one of them a negative value because it has to be a negative 20x squared. And it also needs to add to a positive 1. So let's see. Well, if we have plus 5x and negative 4x, let's see if that works. Positive 5x times negative 4x is negative 20x squared. Add these together, and you will get 1x. So the point in this, guys, think back. Go back to the original. I'm starting off with a trinomial, okay? But I can't factor that nicely. We said that using double bubble here is not going to work, or double set of parentheses. It's not going to work because this is not a 1. So instead, we need to turn this into 4 terms. We multiplied the first term to the last term, and the purpose in this is so now we can split the middle. I will be left with 4x squared plus 5x minus 4x minus 5. Again, does it matter the order, the way I split this? Could I have written this as 4x squared minus 4x plus 5x minus 5? Makes no difference. It does not matter. Okay, so I'll just go with the first one I wrote. Again, makes no difference. So if we look, now we have 4 terms. I can factor by what? By grouping. Good. I can factor this by grouping. I'm going to take out the GCF of the first 2 terms, and I'm going to take the GCF out of the second 2 terms. The first 2 terms both share an x, so when I factor out the x, what I'll have left is 4x plus 5. When I factor out from the second 2 terms, when I take out the negative 1, I should be left with 4x plus 5. If I'm not, something is wrong, and it checks out. Now that I have divided out by the GCF, I can group my terms. So I have 4x plus 5, which matches inside the parentheses of 4x plus 5. If they don't match, you did something wrong. And then I have x minus 1 left. So now I'm just going to group them. I have 4x plus 5. That gets multiplied by x minus 1. And we are done. So that is answer choice 3. Okay, let's take a look at question number 10. Again, you guys can skip through this video wherever you guys, feel confident and comfortable. You don't need to watch the entire thing in its entirety. You can also fast forward, rewind, etc. Okay, so for question number 10, I know, we're getting there. We're almost there. We can double distribute. So I'm going to double distribute this. So I have my 4x plus 2 times 4 minus x plus the 3x squared plus 5. Okay, and I want to double distribute. All right, so when I multiply 4x times 4, I'll get 16x. 4x times negative x is negative 4x squared. Positive 2 times 4 is positive 8. And positive 2 times negative x is negative 2x. And I'm going to bring down the 3x squared plus the 5. Now we can combine like terms. 16x is going to pair with negative 2x, and that's it. So I have 16x minus 2x, which is 14x. Next, I have negative 4x squared is going to pair with positive 3x squared. When I combine like terms, I'll just be left with negative x squared. And then lastly, positive 8 and positive 5 is going to total to positive 13. Now, if I asked you to write this equation in standard form, how would we rewrite that? Because right now this is not in standard form. Take a second to think about it. Have an idea? We are going to write this where the greatest exponent comes out front. So my term with the greatest exponent will be first, and I'm going to write them in descending order. So I will have negative x squared plus 14x plus 13. And that equals w of x. So there you have it. There's my trinomial. We got to pay attention to directions. Trinomial. There's 1, 2, 3 terms. And it's written in standard form. All right, let's take a look at question number 11. All right, so for question number 11, we've got to recall what domain and range are. So domain, we hopefully remember, are the x values, and range is our y values. That was on your do now from last week. So the domain for this function, we have -1, 2, 0, and -1. You don't need to write out the -1 repeating. So I have -1, 0, and 2. We usually write them from least to greatest. Why don't you give the range a shot? Give that a try. Okay, so hopefully you got 0, 5, 3, and 4. And again, I'm going to write that from least to greatest. So I have 0, 3, 4, and 5. The question asks, is this a function? Well, what does it mean to be a function? Oh, x values cannot repeat. Well, do my x values repeat? Let's see. I have a -1 here, and I have a -1 here. Oh, man. So this is not a function. X values cannot repeat. So my explanation, since the x values repeat, this is not a function. Okay. All right. We're almost there, guys. Hang in there. Let's take a look at question 12 and then 13, and we'll be done from there. Okay, so for number 12, this should be nice and easy. All you guys have to do is put this in your calculator. When you go to y equals on your calculator and type in -3x plus 4, and when you go to second table, it's going to tell you all the values, guys. So when x is -3, I'm taking this purely from the calculator. When I go to y equals, type in the function, and then click second table. So all my values, I'm just filling them in, will be 13, 4, -5, and -14. That's all you had to do. Fill in the chart. Alrighty, and last but not least, we will finish up with question 13. All right, so we got to bring back systems of equations, guys. It's always going to be coming back on your tests. So we have one system, and I have another system. How do we solve systems? What are the two methods for solving systems of equations? Systems of equations. Good. This was also on your do now. We have substitution and elimination. Good job. Those are your two ways for solving systems. Okay, let's solve the first system. Now, for this first system, we're probably going to want to use elimination here. Usually elimination is your best bet. Usually the best one to go with. So, for my first system, I have 2x plus y equals 10, and I have 3x plus y equals 16. Well, I want to cancel one of these variables. How can I cancel one of these variables? Let's think. The y's are probably going to be easiest to cancel because they both have a 1 out front. Well, if I multiply the top by a -1, let's see what happens. When I distribute that -1 to everything, I'll have -2x minus y equals -10. My second equation is going to read as 3x plus y equals 16. This is going to work, guys. Because look, now my y's are going to cancel. When I add vertically, I'll have x equals 6. So there's my x value. I'm not done, though. Not done. Now that I have x, what do we have to go back and solve for? People in the back. Yes. Gotta solve for y. Now you gotta solve for y. So pick an equation you want to solve for. Doesn't matter. I'll go with the top one. So if I know x is 6, so I have 2 times 6 plus y equals 10. I'm using that first equation. I'll have 12 plus y equals 10. Subtract the 12, and I'll get y to equal negative 2. Okay? So for my first system, my y value is equal to negative 2, and my x value is 6. So I have 6, 2. I'm going to check and see if that works for the second system. So let's see. I have, for the second system, I'll write it here, 2x plus y equals 10. Well, I know y is equal to 6. So let's plug that in. I'm going to plug that in here using substitution. Since I know y is 6, I have 2x plus 6 equals 10. Subtract out the 6. I have 2x equals 4. And when we solve for x, we'll get 2. So I have the point 2, 6. I have the point 2, 6. And then from the first system, we had 6, 2. So are those solutions the same? Do we agree with Maria? She said that they have the same solutions. Hopefully we said no, because 6, 2 is not the same as 2, 6. So we're going to say, I disagree because 2, 6 is not the same as 6, 2. Okay? Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys as you review for your test tomorrow. As always, if you guys have any questions, you can come during period 0, any of my free periods. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you give me some feedback. Make sure you like and subscribe. We got to get up my subscribers here, people. All right, have a good rest of the night. Good night.